Welcome back, humans, for another episode of the Shut Up No One Cares Get Back to Work podcast. I'm your host, Colin Stuckert, founder of Wildfoods. I'm here to talk to you today about a big idea and then give you some daily actionable tips that you can use in your day-to-day life and then let you get back to it after about 10 minutes or so that you can be a better person and hopefully make better decisions and do something new or unique or different that's going to level you up. And the more better humans we have running around, the better the world's going to be. Because it's just a bunch of humans after all. We're the ones running the planet right now. So the more of us that we can have that are more enlightened, more aware, and doing things that matter to us, the better off it's going to be for the current generation and my son's generation and on and on and on. Today's big idea is the one thing you have to do on a daily basis if you want to get more done in less time. In a lot of cases, you could do this one thing every day and you could actually cut your working hours in half and get more done as a result. Sounds like a bold claim. This isn't easy. This will be hard. But if you do this, I promise you, I would bet it. You could email me, do this for 2 weeks, and we'll place a wager on it that you will get more done in half the time. What is this one thing? It's what I recommend everybody that's ever come to me in 13 years being an entrepreneur and having businesses and doing all these things. It's the one thing I recommend people to do. And in all the people I've given this advice to, I don't think any of them have ever done it once. It's deep work. And more specifically, it's 2 hours of deep work every single day, protected. That's it. Because I want to keep the show short, I'm not going to go into this a lot. But basically, this is what it is. Deep work is when you are locked away, tucked in a room, corner of a library, even at a coffee shop, maybe. Just depends. It's kind of hard to do there because there's a lot of distractions. But if you have some noise-canceling headphones, you can definitely do it there. It's 2 hours, ideally 2. It's kind of like a baseline. I've noticed that if I go to 3 or 4, my brain wanders, so I can't really get into a flow state for that long. And anything under that, it's really hard to get some deep, meaningful work. It seems like it takes about an hour to really get into a good flow state and really be getting things done. It's airplane mode, no distraction, no notifications, no browsing the web, checking social media, none of that. It's 2 hours, focused work on one thing. You could put multiple things in this deep work category if you have a lot of things that you have to do, but generally you want to do things that are very impactful, that are big tasks, that are big projects. So big ideas, building a business plan, writing that thing, creating something, art, whatever requires immense focus that's going to move the needle forward the most for you, that's what you want to put in your deep work routine. And then you find that flow state inside that deep work routine, which itself is a huge thing for happiness and productivity and et cetera. But the deep work routine is the foundation because that's where you're going to try to get into flow and you're going to try to get your best work done. And it's how you can batch things and really knock things out and be super productive without all the task switching and distractions that are the bane of the modern work environment. Whether you actually work in an office or whether you let your computer distract you or your phone, most people do not turn these things off at all their entire day, and they go back and forth bouncing around. This causes low-level anxiety and stress. You're also less effective. You're less able to use your conscious and subconscious faculties to really think hard and come up with your best work. I mean, ask any writer that's trying to write and do it in a way where they have their phone on or people bothering them, and they'll tell you that it makes them want to kill people. Like, it's so stressful. When you are trying to focus and people are interrupting you, it is the worst. There's a lot of psychology reasons for this, brain chemistry reasons for this, but the actionable thing today is if you want to get more done and you want to really move the needle forward and you want success in whatever you're doing, whether it's a job, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's a play you're trying to write, a business you're trying to start, 2 hours a day, completely focused, distraction-free zone, and then protect that on your schedule every day so that nobody can schedule things or interrupt that or anything. This is the secret. Then you do things to protect it and you do things to schedule around it. And it just becomes an easier way to manage your work, your time, and yourself. It's amazing. That's a big idea. If you want to read more about this, get Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. Read it a couple times, but more importantly, figure out where you're going to do it and when you're going to do it, and then commit to that every single day. And I guarantee you will get more done and more impactful and meaningful work, the best work you've ever done, and you'll do it in less time. And then everything else around your deep work, once you get your deep work done every day, that's all just gravy because the real effort, the 80-20, is found in that deep work. That's where the 20% that gives you the 80% of the results. That's the idea for today. I hope you do something with it. I hope you take some action. Let's get to the daily 6 and I'm going to let you go. Daily tip or recommendation. Take walks in nature without screens or audio. There's some theories that going in nature will actually help reset your brain and help your subconscious and your conscious kind of revitalize. And I totally agree with this. If you read something like, I think the book's called Daily Rituals, How Artists Work or something like that, it is about some of the most famous thinkers, scientists, creators, artists in the past couple hundred years and their routines. And almost all of them had a very rigid routine. And then they had daily walking. And a lot of times it was walking outside or in nature. And then they would come back and then they would have a writing session or a work session. And then a lot of times they would take a walk again. Walking is just one of those things that in our world today, we don't do it enough. We're cooped up, we're inside, we don't move, we sit on the couch, we sit in a chair, and it's affecting us in more ways than one, both mentally and physically. Daily book recommendation. We already kind of did this, but Deep Work by Cal Newport. I've now recommended this book 4 times on the show. If you listened to any of those, have you actually bought the book? Have you done it? Have you listened to it? Get on Audible, get on Scribe.com, something. Read the book, especially if today's big idea resonates with you. Daily health tip. Take walks. I know I just said that for the daily tip, but in this one, I want you to take walks and then listen to an Audible or a podcast, an audiobook or a podcast. This is going to give you some movement. It's going to get you outside so you get some vitamin D, and you're going to be building your mind at the same time. Daily cooking tip. So when it comes to seasoning with salt, you want to use more than you think is enough. So you want to use enough salt to the point where you think you've done too much. And sometimes you will over-season. That's fine. That's how you're going to learn. Don't shy away from that. You're only going to learn if you screw up a few times. But most of the time, you're going to use more salt than you think you need, and your food's going to taste delicious. It's the number one mistake that people cooking at home, they don't do, is they don't use enough salt. There's a lot of reasons for this. People are afraid of salt. A lot of this fear-mongering around salt and how it might be connected to blood pressure, hypertension. Most of that's been debunked. Most of that's observational research. Most of that is completely out of context. If you're using quality salt and you're cooking at home, you pretty much don't have to watch your salt intake. Of course, if you're on some blood pressure medication, you do want to watch your salt intake and you're going to have to consult your doctor on something like that. But generally, if you're cooking at home, eating real food, you can use as much salt as you'd like. Because if you're using too much salt and your food doesn't taste good, even that, for most people, is not too much salt. So just don't be afraid of salt. Use it liberally. Over salt a few times. That's how you're going to learn. And then use more salt than you think, and your meals are going to taste better. Daily thoughts about money, and then I'm going to let you go. We're hitting the 10-minute mark. Self-awareness. Yes, this is a money tip, and none of the financial gurus talk about this. If you don't know who you are and why you do the things you do, which is why you spend money, the bad habits you have, etc., if you don't understand who you are and you don't work through the things that are keeping you with these bad money habits, you're never going to have good money habits. It's almost without fail that you will never develop good money habits if you can't hit a certain level of self-awareness, because you will always spend money trying to fill gaps and fill voids, trying to impress people, trying to do things and not really knowing why you're doing them. You're not going to overcome that with a few tips or hacks or apps or whatever. You're not going to overcome it. You have to understand who you are, and you have to understand why you do what you do and why you think and feel what you think and feel. And when you do that, then it makes so much sense. Buying these designer things, trying to impress people because you want validation or whatever, like then you can mitigate those things and fight those things and not waste your money in the ways that a lot of people waste their money. Go deep, maybe therapist, maybe counselor, maybe talk to your friends and family, find somebody that you can confide in, ask yourself hard questions, try to answer them, look back into your childhood. These are obviously things that you should do for life, but if money is one of your goals, you absolutely need to do them for money. And that's going to be it for today's show. I'm your host, Colin, and I appreciate you watching this. Like and subscribe and do all those things if you want to help me help reach other people. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Colin Stuckert and subscribe there. I appreciate any support. If you need to get a hold of me ever, Colin@wildfoods.co. Hey, Colin here. Before I let you go, make sure you go over to colin.coach to hop on the AM5 newsletter so you can get a list of all the shows as well as some of my best content from the week before. You can go to colin.coach to get that now. If you'd like to support the show, you can go over to patreon.com/Colin Stuckert, and you can see some of the membership options, a small monthly donation to help support the work here, and join me in my quest to build better humans using big ideas, as well as promoting health through the Ancestral Mind podcast. I appreciate the support, and if you have any questions or comments, you can send me an email directly to colin@wildfoods.co. This show is also sponsored by Wild Foods Co. Real foods, superfood ingredients from small producers around the world. These are the products I use and trust on a daily basis. You can use code WILDCEO for 12% off your entire order over at wildfoods.co.